Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarva dharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadguru Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namashri Etirajaya Vivekananda Surya Satchit Sukasvarupaya Swamini Tapaharini वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. So we are seeing how it cannot be cut by the shastras, or cannot be burnt by fire, or cannot be dried by air, etc. The next sloka is also more or less on the same lines. It says, Achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo soshevacha nityah sarvagata stanuhu achaloyam sanatana. So, this obviously self cannot be annihilated by any of the known methods of destruction of nature or those invented and perfected by man. Then that given us must be everlasting, is it not? Because now we saw Nainam Sinjanti Shastrani Nainam Dhati Pavakaha Achinam Kledayantiapo Nasosheti Martha. So if it cannot be cut or burnt or dried, etc. So it is not subject to annihilation by any of the known methods of destruction of Prakriti or even man-made. Then that must be everlasting. Because these are the ways in which it's all destroyed, isn't it? There is no other way. These are the ways. Either it should be cut, it should be burnt, it should be dried. So if you take these three things away, probably there's no other way it can be destroyed. You can use various instruments for cutting, you can instrument various instruments for burning, you can use various instruments for drying, etc. But if none of these things can affect any change on the Atman, then it's clear that it is eternal, nitya. So is achedya, adahya, akledya, asosya. So, these are all, it cannot be cut or burned. It can neither be wetted nor dried. So, it's eternal, always, etc. So, if it is that which is indestructible, as indicated in the first line, it should necessarily be everlasting. That which is just eternal must necessarily be all pervading. See, one follows the other. All pervading is, in a way, it's a short term of the inconceivable depth of significance. All pervading, that which pervades everywhere, and therefore nothing that is pervaded by the all pervasive. Eternal truth envelops all and is all pervasive. It has no shapes, since that which has shape is conditioned all along its outline by something other than itself. So, now you imagine a human being with a head, a trunk, and the limbs has a shape, because all around him, along his outline, his space is something other than the carbon material of his skull, etc., etc. So a thing condition should necessarily have a form of its own. But the term all pervading, is it not? That's what it says, sarvagataha. It's all pervading. Means that it's only itself all around, all places, and is unconditioned by anything other than itself. So imagine if something is everywhere, prevalent everywhere, totally occupying everything, nothing other than that. Obviously, how can it be limited by anything? See, you can cut something which is as an object in front of you, whether it's a fruit or an animal or a man or anything. You can use all these methods of destruction like cutting, burning, drying, etc. When you find space, you are there with the instrument, there is something in front of you, it has a separate space, a separate existence, you can do that. But if there is something which is all pervasive, which is everywhere, and if there's nothing apart from that, how can that be cut? Who will cut whom? There are no two entities. There is no space for the cutting instrument to cut the thing which wants to cut, because there's nothing like there's nothing like available space there. It's completely occupying all the space. So nature can have, because nature is also included in that. There's nothing apart from that. Everything is part of that. Obviously, you cannot destroy in that sense. You can. They say, then not only that, this stable. What is sarvagata, all survey pervading, must also be stable, because no change can ever take place in it. So if you want a change to take place, then you should be able to shake, should be able to move, etc. Then it is achaloyam sanat nitya sarvagata stanuhu. It cannot be moved at all. Can you move within yourself? No. You can move outside yourself. So if the self is all pervading, obviously it is stanu, it is stable, because it has no place to move. It's all total, one homogeneous. So it has no place to move, no place to become unstable. So it is completely, it cannot move anywhere. A motionless thing is indeed form. So it is achala. It is not going. So, the firm terms, the stable stanu and firm or achala may slightly mean both, but they have, there is a slight difference in the two. The sthanu means stability at the base, just like the base of a tree. Say the base of a banyan tree. At the base, it is stable. At the top, it is moving. Truth is stable at the base, truth is stable firm at the top. The infinite has no movement anywhere. So it's not only stable at the base, it's equally stable at the top. So that's why they have used perhaps several terms to again emphasize is stanuhu, sarvagataha, achaloyam, sanatana, ancient, ancient. You know, it's self is not new, but is ancient. Therefore, we need not hesitate to accept it. It's not something which is newly discovered by someone who has come into prominence very recently, someone proposing, propounding one's own theory, etc., etc. This is something everywhere, whether you go to North Pole or South Pole, anywhere. This has been there for all time to come, thousands of years, or even beyond that. That is what we understand. I mean, we have heard. Iti Shushrimadhiranam Enastatvisha Chakshire. It has been heard by wise men, before them, like that. For all time to come, people have heard about all this, and it's going on and on and on endlessly. So these are all there. It's not something new. So again and again, he is emphasizing to Krishna the indestructibility, the immortality of the Atman, and how he should not worry. So in the context of all that, is there any point in his worrying about Bhishma, Drona, a little this thing? Of course, later on, Sri Krishna also showed him the Vishwarupa. And he saw from a distance, what are you seeing? Bunches of grapes hanging. Looks closely, then he saw countless number of Bhishmas and Dronas and so many others. So, in that cosmic entity, everything is just like a speck. As a Bhishma, Drona, or anything, what is there to think about? There's nothing. In that huge thing, as Tagore gives a beautiful example, there's a big bull, it's a huge horn, in which a mosquito is sitting, saying, "Oh bull, please forgive me. Am I disturbing you?" I said, "No, he come with your whole family," and said, "It does not matter at all. I'm not the least disturbed." Because it has no existence at all compared to the bull. So obviously, like that, in that context of that extraordinary nature of Atman, What are individuals, let them be Bhishma, Drona, whatever it is, they've all got a certain limited span of time. Arjuna came to know them, came in contact with them, they became his teachers, etc. Now suddenly he feels greatly disturbed, worried, and all that. That's why in the next sloka he says, Abhyaktoyam, Achintyoyam, Avikaryoyam Uchyate, Tasmadevam Viditvainam, Nanushochitamarhasi. See, he knows it to be unmanifest. Abhyaktoyam. Achintya is unthinkable. And then Avikarya, no Vikarya, is unchangeable. Therefore, you should not grieve. Tasmat evam viditvainam. Therefore, knowing this to be such, nanushochita barhasi. There is no point in your grieving, because this is the nature. This is to be, this is unmanifest, unthinkable, and unchangeable. So what we are thinking, the eternal operates is certainly unmanifest. What we think is only a very limited or conditioned view of the self. The self never becomes all that. We are only viewing all this, we are experiencing all this manifestation because of what is called ignorance. So once the ignorance goes, everything goes. There's nothing. So it's only in the temporary intermediary period when we are in a state of ajnana, we are experiencing all this. So when the true knowledge comes, I find that all these things, make no meaning. They are absolutely, there's nothing to be thought of, or there's nothing to participate, nothing to recognize. Huh? So it seems the great Ramana Maharshi was once hauled up in a court. Even during his lifetime, his relatives had captured the ashrama and all that. But he was not bothered, he was just living. Then there was a property dispute and he was called. So he went to give evidence. So they asked, where is the world? When was it created? And he said, no, let this Mahatma go. Wherein the world did not exist at all. It's our own limited view, conditioned view of ignorance that is making us feel that no, there is a world, there is this, there is that, and all that. So in a real sense, the self does not become manifest. There's only an apparent recognition. Jata eva, this what Shankara says in his Bhashya, Brahma Sutra Bhashya, as if it was born. So there is no real manifestation. So unthinkable, it cannot be thought of, because thinking also relates to the realm of the senses. That which is beyond senses. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasaha avang manasa gocharam. It's beyond mind, beyond speech. How can it be thought of? Obviously, it's not possible. And unchangeable, avikarya. Yes, if it is vikarya, if it is subject to change, then it is not Brahman. If there is one sole, solitary, unitary consciousness or self, where is the question of change? It is all there, there's nothing else. So he says, if you know this truth, you should not grieve. There's no point. So, the great elements that we know, when they become subtler, they lose their capacity to impinge themselves upon our sense perceptions. Considered from earth to air, we find that elements progressively getting subtler for our perceptions, and finally ether or space cannot be perceived directly by our senses at all. Do we really see space? We only feel, we only imagine. Space is something, it's only a concept. Do you see space? No. So the great elements can't simply be perceived through our sense organs. But the case of ether, the subtlest is too subtle for our perception. And therefore we'll have to assume that it is all unmanifest. So unmanifest not only, so all the things that we see, they're all, only in that limited sense as manifest. Otherwise, they're not manifest at all. So when we see something is manifest, then we should be able to see through one or other of our, see or feel through one of our sense organs. That which is beyond the sense organs is called unmanifest. So, therefore, In a mango seed, you cannot taste, smell, feel a full grown mango tree. So you say that mango tree is in an unmanifest form, is it not? So trees had been unmanifest condition in the seed. Similarly, when they say the truth is unmanifest, they only mean that cannot be perceived through any of our sense organs. So, in the Upanishad, there are exhaustive explanations about an object of because why a person cannot have the eternal as one of the sense objects. It is a very subject. So, through which, because of which, our sense organs perceive, feel everything. Even the mind, the intellect, all our perceptions, all our experiences, ultimately, they're all because of the self. So, how can the self be seen by all these? You cannot see yourself. The eyes are very powerful, you can see everything. Can you see yourself? No. You can only see your reflection in the mirror. Similarly, the self which is responsible for all our experiences cannot be experienced by all the senses. The reverse is not possible. So then again, the unthinkable. So the human mind, the human intellect, etc., cannot really, comprehend the infinite. The self being the very life which energizes the mind and intellect, because they themselves are very, inert and insentient, it becomes obvious that mind and the intellect cannot make the self an object of their comprehension. Then, if you see through a microscope or a telescope, you see outside. No, you can't see yourself through that. Can you see yourself through a telescope? So anything you see using your sense objects, use it for other external objects, experiences, etc. You cannot turn them towards yourself. So similarly, unchangeable, because to have any change, it must be possible to divide the self. There should be some division, some parts, something. If this one thing is totally whole and it is all pervading, how is it possible to see any change in that? So now wherever, how do you see, how do you perceive change? You are like this today, yesterday you are like this, today you are so and so, you are sick, you are having fever, you are having something. Why? Because I have a limited area which I occupy. My figure is outlined by the space around me. Supposing, wherever you see the same thing. How will you perceive any change in that? Because it has no parts. It is all pervasive, all inclusive. There's only one self, nothing else. So obviously that which has no parts, etc., cannot have any division. And once it's not possible, no change is possible. Change is only with respect to things which have a conditioned existence, which have parts which are limited in some way by space, time, etc. That which is not conditioned by any of this, which is everywhere, obviously it cannot be subject to any change. So then he says, again he gives another argument. Atachainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tapitvam mahabaho naivam shochitum arhasi. If you think that granting that the self is not everlasting, it is think of being constantly born and constantly dying. Then also mighty one Mahabaho, Ainam Shochitum Arhasi. You should not grieve. It is not worthy of your grief, this one. Because of course, we say it is eternal, it is undying, it is not subject to change, etc. Even if you hold the self to be subject to constant births and deaths, still there is, no sense of your mourning for such a self. It doesn't befit you. You cannot have. So, what happens in such a case? See, So the reference is, like the some other, the Purumimamsa or some other philosophy where where the which accepted an undying soul, the Atman, but not accept an ultimate mukti or liberation. The Purumimamsas do not, the Uttarvimamsas accept this idea of total liberation or mukti, whereas the from the Purumimamsa school, they don't accept the mukti. They believe in an undying soul, the Atman. So the jiva acquires merits or demerits, goes to heaven or heavenly religion, enjoys their fruits, and at the exhaustion of their merits or demerits, they again come to earth to acquire merits, and it goes on through karma. So the continuity is accepted. There will be nothing to conserve and enjoy the values generated by work. So, here I think, even that argument, that idea, Sri Krishna is negating. Even if we believe that the Atman is subject to constant birth and deaths, it's not that one undying eternal entity. Even then, you should not grieve, because you see, the anyway, whatever you do, they are constantly subject to birth and death. Even if you take that argument, it's not only. See, the whole problem is Arjuna saw this as a very limited window, namely this body, this person known as Bhishma or Drona, they would be killed. Such acharyas will be killed. So he thought that he was viewing them only in the light of this one particular view, particular life, particular time. No, what would happen? See, even if you see either the Hindu philosophy accepts mukti, otherwise birth and death. So even if you do not accept the idea of mukti, even if you say that the jivas are constantly subject to birth and death, they are born, they work, they do their this thing, go to heaven or hell, and then come back, and again it goes on and on. Still, there is no reason for you to grieve, because even if they are going to die, they are going to be born again according to the samskaras. So you have nothing to worry about that. You are not responsible. Their own samskaras, whatever they have done, however, they might be killed, where you might kill them or somebody else might kill them, or they may die a natural death. If you believe that they're all subject to again constant birth and death, they will again come. Again, there will be life. Again, it will happen. So, why should you worry? Then also, it is not justified. Then he says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu, dhruvam janma mritasya cha, tasmat apariharyerti natvam shochitum arhasi. So he says, death is certain for one who is born, and birth is certain for the dead. Therefore, that which is apariharya, that which is unavoidable, which is inevitable, natvam shochitam arhasi. It is not worthy of grieving. It's not arhasi. So, why do you worry? So, uh, just as continuing perhaps the previous loka, no? Again, is not talking about the souls which do sadhana, realize the truth, and get eternal freedom. No. Even if you think that one who is born dies, and then one who dies gets again next birth, as is believed by the Purvamimamsakas, then then also there is nothing for you, because it's going to continue. It is a certain. So if that is inevitable, if that cannot be avoided in any way, why should you worry about that? It's not logical. Therefore, for the inevitable, you should not grieve. So they are the materialists take life to be a constant flood of appearance of forms arising from nowhere and disappearing into nowhere. The theists believe that embodiments are taken up by the individual ego in order that they may eke out its experiences and learn to grow in the understanding of life and ultimately realize the truth behind all. So, whether you're a believer or a non believer, if you believe only in materialistic life and feel that this taking birth and dying would continue forever, very good. Then also there is nothing for you to be worried about, Thus, in life, by its very nature, a stream of birth and deaths, against this inevitable arrangement, no intelligent person should mourn because it's happening to everybody. So, to in order to, so it is very clear from whichever angle, if you accept that it is eternal, it is undying, it is no, is beyond birth, beyond death, everything, all these are all only appearances. From that point, you cannot grieve. If you feel that it's subject to anyone who is taking birth has to die, and one who dies has to take birth, from that point of view also, if you think so, then also there is nothing, you should not grieve. So in either way, what you are doing is not worthy of a person of any reasonable intelligence. Then he says, Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidananyeva tatraka paridevana. So what is there? Paridevana, tatraka pari. What is there to be grieved about? Why? Because avyaktadini bhutani, they are unmanifest in the beginning. In the beginning they are unmanifest. I think one sloka we have skipped. One second. So they are mysterious. The beginning, origin, end are all mysterious. Is it not? They are unmanifest again in the end. They seem to be manifest in the middle. So the beginning is full of mystery, the end is full of mystery. In between, you have only in the interim between birth and death. It's there is some sign of manifestation. What is there to grieve about? Because the rest are all absolutely unclear. So what is there to grieve about? So this is uh, become natural that no immortal idea is accepted like that, and a mysterious it's taken to be a mysterious kind of unavoidable phenomena. Because you see, from the this is the whole problem from the point of view of the man of the world, because the problem is the material world, the objects strictly follow the law of causation. The world of effects rises from the world of causes. In a majority of cases, the effects are manifest and the causes are unmanifest. To project from an unmanifest to manifest is the program of creation, strictly following the law of causation. Thus, in the manifest world of today, was unmanifest before its creation. And now, for the time being, it is available for cognition as fully manifest, only to fade away soon into unmanifest again. It amounts to saying, the present came from unknown, it shall return to the unknown. Even if we viewed thus, why should one mourn? For the spokes of a wheel that turns eternally must come down again and to rise again. Because how are we born? What brings us into this world? What happened? How is it? What is the great mystery of birth? It's absolutely unknown. Every birth like that, there's no certainty that a child will be born, it will be proper, it will have life. Nothing is known. Only when it comes finally, enters into existence, then we know, yes, the child is there, it's alive, the birth has happened. So it's great mysteries surrounding this, how it happens, the combination, in which family, how, when. And then again, death is a much more mystery. Suddenly everything stops. But in between, no, I mean, as far as the the person concerned, see, outside people might think that, oh, this is how he's born, this is how it has happened, so and so son or daughter, whatever it is. But for the Jivatma itself, how has it come into existence? Absolutely, it has no idea. It takes birth, then grows, then from a certain period in life, when the awareness kind of starts developing, And up to certain level, up to some age, unless dementia, etc., sets in, there is awareness in the middle period. Then again, towards the end or at the time of death, again it is total mystery. So if that be so, if the beginning and the end are so mysterious, in between there is a small little window of awareness, why should you worry about that? Because again, the cycle is always going to happen constantly. It's going to go down, maybe death, again going up, birth, then middle, then going down. So it's constantly happening. So what is it for you to grieve about? Everything is shrouded in mystery. You cannot do anything about it. No one can say. So it's like, the dream children, unmanifest before, came into manifestation during the dream, became unmanifest again on waking up. Why should a bachelor, you know, worry about a wife whom you had never married, or who had disappeared in your dream, with your dream, the children unborn, and dissolved away with your dream? So, that way, it's something like that. You worry about a huge fortune that you got during dream, and you are enjoying everything. Then you get up, you suddenly find it's all not there. So, you do not know how the dream occurred. You do not know how the dream disappeared. The manifestation of the dream was a mystery. Again, the end of it is a mystery. Then suddenly in between, you enjoy, you participate, you are very much, it is alive, it's real. When you wake up, the whole thing goes. Do you really grieve for that? Oh, what happened in my dream? I had a wonderful palace, I had so many cars and so many servants and so on. No one says that. Similarly, in this life also, initially, there is a total mystery about the coming into existence. And finally, at the exit also, it is that way. In between, yes, there is some kind of awareness. So obviously, the world of birth and death just keeps on spinning. So actually, it is not possible to us to really comprehend. Hmm. So the it's very why it is that, then the question arises. Arjuna, of course, did not straight away ask. Then the question arises, why are we not able to realize this, even though it's explained to us repeatedly, or you know constantly we are being told about it. So it's, it's then Shankara says that the self just spoken of is very difficult to realize. Why should I blame you alone? Well, the cause, ignorance is common to all. You know, the when someone doesn't realize, it's not that person alone. His ignorance is common to all. That is why no billions and billions and billions in the world are not able to realize the true nature of the self. That's why it says in that आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवत् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवश्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेदन चैव कश्चित्. One sees it as a wonder. Asyavad pashyati kashit enam. So the eternal absolute is explained to us as infinite, all knowing, all blissful. Our experiences, we are finite, we are ignorant and miserable. So therefore, the reality which is ourself and what is our experience, there seems to be a huge a mountain of difference, as between heat and cold, light and darkness. So when that is why we are unable to realize our real nature is our ignorance. When we try to perceive the truth, it seems to be a goal to be reached at some distance, in a distant period of time. But in fact, we have to believe the Lord's words, the self being of essential nature, we are never far from it. Immortal is far away from immortality. The imperfect is as far away from perfection. A dreamer as a dreamer is from the waker. So if you are awakened to yourself, glory, you are God. So to the ego, the very existence of the subtler self beyond the body, mental, and intellect is an idea. It cannot even be conceived of. the very existence of a self, which is beyond the body, mind, and intellect, even as an idea, is very difficult for us to comprehend. That is why, though the finally, only through some techniques of self perfection and constant vichara, etc., when they recognize themselves to be the self, is struck with the wondrous ecstasy of that supreme uh, reality. So, Asaryavat Pashyati, see the emotion of the wonder when it raises in the mind, it has capacity to kind of arrest you, make you be transfixed. Because, in some other Upanishads, it's also the ha, 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 hu, ha, hu. Eh? Mean, when you get a glimpse of that ultimate reality, it's so stunning, so wondrous. See, it's not exactly sense experience, but even if it is a super sensitive experience, there's some idea of it percolates down to the level of the senses. Then one is struck with wonder at the immensity of that experience or that immensity of that feeling, you know. So that's why he says, some have a asaryavat pashyati kashchid. Some see this as a great wonder. Some speak of it because, they are not exactly seeing whatever experience they have had. They try to relate to it as something extraordinarily wonderful they had seen. So they relate to it in terms of sight because, we have only the sight, hearing, touch, smell, etc. These are the senses. So whatever we describe, whatever we talk about, can be only in terms of these. So, for some people who have a glimpse of that super senses experience, they are so stunned. They speak of something wondrous to see. That may be, and some they speak of it, as something extraordinary. Huh? And some other hears of this as a wonder. Huh? So yet sutva enam vedana chaiva kachit. So, these are all those who have had this experience in some way or other. So, some speak of it, as some sight which is unforgettable. And some say that it's something, it's a wonder to hear about. So, in spite of all that, some see, some speak of it, and some hear of it. But, normally, however much we hear of, still we are nowhere near that goal. Near that goal, we cannot, so the this the it's thrilled with the hush of lived joy in the temple of experience when the self, all alone with the self, comes to live as a self. There's no other second entity. Yastu atmartireva syat atmartirtasya manava atmaneva santushtah satyakaryam tasya karyam na vidyate. Yastu atmartireva syat. So, his only delight is Atman. He is satisfied, Triptasya is fully satisfied. Atmanya, which is only Santushti or his satisfaction is Atman. So, that means when the self sees and realizes and be with it in the self itself, then it's an extraordinary experience. Therefore, the rishis of the old borrowed the term wonderment, Ascharya, uh, to indicate the student what exactly would be the condition of his personality layers at the moment when his ego drops off from the resplendent infinite form of the self. When the ego drops off from that extraordinary self, what will be the condition of the personality layers of the individual? Obviously, it's one of great wonderment, is it not? So, true knowledge makes a person realize that the soul is with a body. But now, in our ignorance, we think that we are a body with a soul. So, those who listen well are encouraged to reflect on what they have heard and meditate to realize the self. No? Shravan Manan Nididhyasana. So, the unintelligent listeners also feel encouraged by the very same statement expressing the rarity of this knowledge to make repeated attempts at listening, Shravana, Manana, etc. So, the the more you, however much you hear, see, it's spoken of as a great wonder, it's heard of as a wonder, it's seen as a great wonder now. Yet, Shrutva Penam Vedana Cheva Kaschit, yet having heard, none understands this at all. Because if someone hears about it, from that, the person, no one gets an idea that it is so and so. You struggle, you struggle, you struggle. So again and again, only through the process of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, ultimately you get the idea of the soul. Till then, it goes on and on. And then, Dehi Nityam Avadhyoyam Dehe Sarvasya Bharata Tasmat Sarvani Bhutani Natvam Shochitamarasi. Thus, Dehi, the one is indweller, Nityam, eternal, Avadhyoham, Dehe Sarvasya Bharata, is in the body of everyone. And it is Avadhya. It is not destructible at all. Tasma Sarvani Bhutani, Natvam Shoju. Therefore, it is in everywhere. You should not grieve for it. It's not just in one body or anything. It's everywhere. Because, the subtle reality in each body, the indwelling spirit in every creature is eternal and indestructible. And all that is destroyed is only the container, the finite uh, matter envelopment of the body. So that so Arjuna is told that he should not grieve at facing his enemies and the great battle, even killing them if it needs to be, to bring out this idea. So Sri Krishna says that eternal nature of the soul and the finite nature of the bodies. So the it has been shown that there is no occasion for grief and attachment, not only from the point of view of absolute truth, but also looking at the point of view of beauty, duty, that one ought not to waver. So you see, because Dehi Nityam Avadhyoyam, Dehe Sarvasya Bharat. Ah, so this is in all beings, the embodied spirit can never be slain. Therefore, there's no reason for you to grieve for anyone. So, the idea is, as individually, if it is like that, if it is Sanatana, if it is Tanus, Achuloyam, if it is Sarvagata, so it's the same one all pervading spirit, whether it's Drona or Bhishma or Arjuna or Bhima or Yudhishthira or anything. Ultimately, it is the one and only spirit that is pervading everywhere. So all this that you are different, he is different. It's only the outer case, the body, that is different. So if something is all pervading and stanu and all that, so it is the same thing that is everywhere. It is the body of the Arjuna or the body of Bhishma, everything. So in a real sense, nothing is killed, nothing is destroyed, because what is destroyed is only the body or the outer casing, which anyway is subject to destruction. So when you want to realize, when you want to take out the inner kernel, you have to destroy uh, the outer body or the outer cover. So there's something like that. So you don't have to worry at all. So unnecessarily you are worrying about a thing for which you should not worry about. So then we'll continue. That is what he's trying to say. Now he's first of all he wants to clarify. He wants Arjuna to get intellectual clarification about the war, the nature of destruction, nature of life, the supreme, the existence of the soul, and so on. And then slowly, in various ways, he will take him forward in this journey, so that ultimately Arjuna agrees to do his Swadharma. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Baba. हो गया भाई. Thank you.